Next time.
Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where right now it's 22:02. It is really late in the evening, and I know I'm supposed to do daily upload schedules and a daily uploaded video, and we're hopefully going to make it even though it's 22:02. But I literally, as you can see from the title up above, I literally came back from the movies. Yeah, I've been to the movies, and I thought, why not make a bit of a review about the movie that I just seen? It's a bit of an experimental format. I haven't done it before, and I don't know what to do about it, right? But this is going to be a non-spoilery review. That means there's going to be no spoilers about the movie that I'm going to talk about. And what movie am I going to talk about? Well, as you probably can decipher from the title, I'm going to talk about Infinity War, the first movie, Avengers Infinity War, and what a trip it was. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm on an adrenaline trip unlike no other. I've been waiting for this movie for at least 10 years, Ever since Iron Man 1 came out in, 2008, up until today, I've been hyped for this movie. I've been talking to my mates, I've been talking to my friends, I've been talking to my family, I've been talking to my brother, I've been talking to everybody who cares to listen that this movie is coming out today. Today or yesterday, it came out yesterday, but anyway, that it came out this week, and I've been just rushing out to get my hands on some tickets the first day I actually was available to see it, and what a journey it was. So, in order to put a bit of context to it, now I'm a guy who have seen all of the Marvel movies. Haven't seen Black Panther though, but I've seen a lot of spoiler reviews, so I think that I'm up to date, plus that I've heard some of my mates who's, seen it and they talked me up about it. And I've seen all the trailers and I've seen, a lot of the stuff. However, otherwise, I'm totally up to date with the entire MCU. I'm also someone who's really interested in comic books, yeah? And I've seen a lot of different stories, especially revolving Thanos, now that we're actually in the Infinity War era. I mean, can you imagine? This is probably the biggest movie of this decade, rivaling even Star Wars, the Star Wars Episode 9. It's gonna be crazy, it's gonna be wild, and just imagine the next part of this story coming out, which is probably going to have a whole lot of hype surrounding it, which is coming out next year. It's crazy, and I totally understand after watching this video what the producers meant when they said this is probably going to be one long 5-hour story, or one long 5-hour movie. You can see that, right, when you go into it. But anyway, this is a non-spoiler review, so I will not go into spoilers. Believe me, I would like to avoid them myself if I hadn't seen the movie, because boy, oh boy, were there stuff to be excited about. Now, something that I do not deem to be a spoiler was that there were some things in the trailers that either didn't make it into the movie or were shot in a tricky way to make you think that it was supposed to be in one part of the movie, but it wasn't. That's all I'm gonna say, right? But just keep that in mind as you move in there, so that you don't get disappointed that something doesn't happen that you've anticipated, that's based on nothing but your own, figurative imagination, your own creation of your imagination. Now, I had high standards moving into this movie. I mean, as you could probably tell, I had really high standards. I've been looking at theories, I've been looking at developments, I've been looking at theory crafting, I've been looking at different stories revolving the Infinity Gauntlet, I've been looking at different podcasts discussing the subject, and I've been really hyping up myself. And before I went and saw the movie, I was thinking, oh damn, this is probably not the best idea ever, right? It's probably not good to go in and watch a movie that I'm so hyped and excited about and that I have so high expectations of, because it's probably only going to be shut down. Why? Because they were out of this world. But believe me, when I went there and saw it, and I probably can make you hyped out about this movie, and it doesn't even play a role in it, because it was that much better than what I thought of. Imagine, they were talking, like, in the movie, there were things I never heard in a theory, not because they were bad, just because nobody really thought to explicitly say that, either because, it's so ridiculous to say, or because, it's not gonna happen, or that character isn't a big enough character, or that character is too big of a character, right? But there were just so many things happening. I think that a lot of assumptions around this movie is going to be based on, preemptively before going into this movie. It's going to be things like, it's a Marvel movie. I kind of know what I'm gonna get. They've been kind of innovative in the latest movies, as I've heard, yet haven't seen. The Black Panther movie is supposed to be very superb when it comes to innovation in the Marvel era, even though it follows it. I mean, I ain't gonna speak about that, right? I haven't seen it. But if you say, for instance, Thor Ragnarok, what a step in the right direction for the Thor franchise, let's say, the Thor branch of the entire MCU. And people thought that was a bit innovative going in that direction with the character. I'm just gonna say, you know, I'm not even going out on a limb saying this. This movie is really innovative, right? They're coming in lots of different stuff that we already know about, but in a new way. And it's so funny and it's so cool. And I know this is my first, you know, movie review, so this is going to be all over the place. But the characters, the character interactions. People, can we just get the hands up for that? That was bloody amazing. I don't think that I've ever seen in any movie so many different characters being balanced so well. I mean, I can say this. If the next movie is even I was gonna say half, but even a third or a fourth as good as this movie was in both pacing, character interaction, character motivation, character story, well, how they actually told backstories of a lot of the characters and, you know, referencing things that has already happened for people who haven't seen all the movies, which is understandable. I mean, it was 10 years ago Iron Man 1 came out, as I mentioned. There were so many things that were done so very well that even if the next movie's just doing it a third as well, a fourth as well, I would go out on a limb here though and saying even a fifth as well, I would still be really happy to see it and it would still live up to my expectations of the movie. Not that I had any low expectations, believe me. I'd seen all there was to find about this movie out there, right? I've been looking at all these different things as I mentioned before, you know, podcast, news, theories, different comic book stories, and I was still amazed when I saw the final product. I'm just gonna say that the way it was paced, I mean, I need to praise the directors on this. The way the movie was paced, I'm just gonna say, this is what Star Wars was supposed to be, right? When I was looking at Star Wars, you know, Episode 7, Episode 8, and what I'm still hoping for, even though I haven't been met with that so far about the Star Wars franchise, and the new trilogy, what I hope the Star Wars Episode 9 is going to be like, this is all what it was going to be like, right? You have all of these brilliant characters with existing motivations, with existing power levels, with existing powers, with new power levels, with new powers, with old powers whatsoever, and they all balanced really well. And the pacing, as I said, of the movie is brilliantly done. I mean, sometimes I'm afraid when I'm seeing a bit of a trailer and I'm thinking, oh, that's gonna be making it into that part, right? Sometimes I'm watching a trailer and I'm thinking, oh, they just spoiled the ending. Or, oh, that's going to be the dramatic part. Or that's going to be the motivation for why they're doing this later on. Or any of these things. And as I said, when I was watching the trailer, I generally just put it into my different boxes and I thought, I have a pretty good grasp on what the movie is going to be like. It's going to be funny in the beginning, drag out in the middle, then pick up the pace and drag a bit, and then finish on a strong note. Whew! Was that not the case? I mean, seriously, after the first... I'd say, okay, I'm just gonna give you a general tip. If you're going to watch this movie in a theater and you don't have the possibility to pause the movie, don't drink or eat anything. You don't want to go to the bathroom the first... Well, it's 2.5 hour movie, and I'm gonna say the first hour at least, right? Or the first 40 minutes. Don't move from your chair at all if it's not... If your life doesn't depend on it, right? If your life doesn't depend on it, don't move. There are lots of things happening, as you can imagine, because there are so many different characters. But it's done so well. I mean, as I said, the pacing, amazing. The characters, amazing, and how it all fit together in the grand scheme of things, in the larger scheme of things, it just felt natural in a way, in my opinion. Now, I know that some people out there have been saying that they have cut stuff that is later going to be making it onto the DVD. Why? Well, because it's a 2.5 hour movie. It's long, even though when I sat down there, and I truly say this, or I'm serious when I say this and truthful, I thought it'd been like an hour when it was done. And I was like, wait a minute, this is it? It's already done. Not because of how it ended, not because how it didn't end, not because of any expectations that I had, not how it, you know, was in the middle, ending, start, beginning, whatever. It's just that it was such a joyride to be in the theater and see everything. CGI as well, that really helped to enforce this on point. Really, the CGI was better than in any Marvel movie to date that I've seen, right? And again, excluding the Black Panther. Anyway, otherwise everything else just is, it's blank, or it's blank in comparison to this movie. As I said, CGI top notch, the visual effects and the lighting especially. I must say the lighting was very interesting, how they did that, and some of the scenery as well, beautiful, really taking you to new, or rather introducing new angles, new views, new ways of introducing you to set pieces, new kind of, I'd say, new interesting camera angles when they were fighting some of the fight scenes. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that in a movie with 21 superheroes or more, like 26, 27, 30, 60, I might have missed half of them because I was... I just came from there, so I haven't really digested, but, all of the people who are on the poster at least, right? That's what I'm having in my mind right now. All of them are based around fighting in some way, right? I mean, all of them can fight, so there isn't really a spoiler saying that there was any fighting going on, but just that there were some camera angles that were new and interesting. There were definitely innovative ways of showing a fight scene, I'd say, because... if you're watching any other, as I said, if you're watching any other Marvel movie, I would say except Thor Ragnarok, there is a certain way they tend to go about making the movie. Sure, there is this, you start on a low and then it goes higher, you build the tension, something happens, drama, and then it's action, and then it goes up to the climax in the end, and then, the hero wins or whatever. Or it lays down. This was completely different, I'd say. I might have misunderstood a lot of the movie based on my interpretation, right? Because I think that I have, or I haven't. I'm really going over this time and time again, and I'm thinking, have I really? I mean, it feels like I should have misinterpreted it based on the results I got, because this was so much better than I expected. I mean, it's breaking all the expectations so far. But yeah, it's just, wow. I probably need to just take a few seconds to collect my thoughts here. It's, as I said, I watched this movie like 20 minutes ago. Just came home. If I'm going to say this instead, non-spoilery, what did I like about the movie? Well, as I said, everything. There were 2 cuts. No, that's wrong. There were 1 cut. And I'm not talking about an entire scene, right? I'm not talking about a particular piece of content being cut from the movie. There were 1 cut between 2 scenes, right? And I'm not talking about the way they cut it, like the way the cut was presented. It's not, any iMovie or Windows Movie Maker cut which makes an animation in between. No, it was just that there was 1 awkward cut in the entire movie that I found, right? But yet again, I know kind of the story around these people and around these characters, so there might be many people who are out there saying that, wow, this was a bit, forced. But I didn't think so. But there was just 1 cut in the movie which I thought was, not necessarily bad. It was just that I would have liked... I would argue that that's not even a bad thing. The 1 cut that I was, hanging myself up on was that we were in a scene where I wanted to see more, but it countered, like it was contradicting with the scene that I also, or it was competing with the scene that I also wanted to see more of. So, hard to say, really, if it was a bad thing that they cut between them, because I was like, no, don't cut away from this. Yes, I can see this again. No, don't cut away from this. Yes, I can see this again. That kind of struggle all the time. I love the movie, but I would say, all in all, there were 1 cut where I was like, I probably understand why they did this, but I would have liked to see this for a couple of seconds more. That's probably all of the feedback I can give, because... wow, what a story, right? What a movie. So well paced. I have friends who I watched it with who both have seen the other Marvel movies and some who haven't seen the Marvel movies. And they were all in a consensus that we're hyped for the next movie. Yeah, we're really hyped for the next movie. Not just necessarily by how they ended things, but also because how the entire movie was, as I said, paced, presented, how it was just evaluated, how we talked about it in the end. And it creates so many discussions around the movie that it's I don't even know what to say. I'm just gonna say this before I end this, because I'm just gonna ramble on, to oblivion and all infinity, and probably give away spoilers as a cause of that, right? So I'm just gonna say a couple of things. 1, there is a post-credit scene. 2, it's a Thanos movie, right? I've heard other people say this as well. It's a Thanos movie. It's an Avengers movie as well, but it's also a Thanos movie. And I think that if you go in with a different mindset, Like, or rather, if you go in with a predetermined mindset that it's not supposed to be a Thanos movie, you're probably not gonna like it. I mean, you're still gonna like it a lot because there's a lot of the Avengers in there, but still, there might be some issues you're gonna have with the movie. If you go in with a mindset that is completely open, you don't have any expectations, it's gonna blow your socks off. If you go in with the perception that it is a Thanos movie, you're really going to be able to take in the full scope of the movie and be like, wow. I mean, not that it's about Thanos 24/7, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that this is probably the best hero, arguably villain, arguably if a villain, that the MCU has ever introduced over the course of all their movies. And they have done a lot of movies. I think they've done something along the lines of 36 hours worth of movies, and of all of the villains presented in those movies, Thanos is the best. And I also say this, that within the 5 first minutes, they really set the tone of the film. That's not a spoiler, I think. It's just that you have some expectations of what a Marvel movie is supposed to be like. And you have some predetermined thoughts that, oh, you know, it's Disney who's producing it. They have certain standards, different guidelines. They have certain ways of doing things. You might be expecting a certain way of, you know, a certain type of event happening in a certain type of way. And you might have seen the different Marvel movies before, and you're thinking that, well, this is how they've done it, so we can kind of see what's going to be happening. And even though, like, there were, I don't know how to say it, but you just can say that within the 5 first minutes, it really sets the tone for how it differentiates itself from the other movies in a really good way, in my opinion. I'm backing this to 120%. I think it's awesome. There's lots of comedy in the film. There is a lot of drama. There's some drama. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of serious moments that really lands really well and is very well balanced. So it's not only the pacing that's balanced and the character interaction that's balanced and the amount of characters on screen together that's balanced. It's also the comedy with the seriousness, with the drama, with everything. I think there was like 1 or 2 jokes which I thought was like, you know what, this wasn't placed in the best way. It was presented in a good way, but in comparison to what the balance of the movie is right now, I would not have liked that. But simultaneously, if it wasn't in there, I would probably say, oh, I would have liked to hear something from that character saying something like that in that specific situation. So I might be contradicting myself in the long run here, but yeah, I'm really nitpicking when I'm looking for critique in order to critique the movie. I'm gonna give this a solid 10 out of 10 because my world did this rock my, it rocked my world beyond any type of the imagination. I couldn't recommend this movie enough, and do not have it spoiled for you. It will not destroy the entire movie, I'd say. As I said, I had some predetermined understanding of what was gonna happen in the movie, some which turned out to be true, some which did not turn out to be true, but that's that's deemed to be happen, right? Even if it's just moments, because read some of the comic books this is based on. There are some moments that is really well paid off, and if you read the comics, that you feel like, oh yeah, this happened in the comics, and you're just like, wow, yeah, I can see that. That's what I mean when I'm like, I have read it before, but also seen it in the movie. But do not spoil this movie for you if you can avoid it. And even if you get spoiled, the movie is still a worthwhile watch. I mean, I'd say that for me, since it wasn't spoiled, I'd say that a lot was on the story. But if you take away the story, the character interaction is also golden. If you take away the character interaction, the movie is still beautiful to look at. If you take away the visuals, it's still a solid, music score that's played. And if you take away that, well, then you probably have a black silent screen, which with the Marvel logo probably wouldn't be that bad. They probably would found some way to trick that off as well, or pick that, make that work as well. Black Panther, what? Anyway, that's my thoughts on the movie. Really rambly, maybe so. First movie review that I do. It's probably not even a review. Spoiler-free review. And yes, I just hope this makes you feel more inclined towards go and watch the movie, because I totally recommend you go watching the movie. Now it's just Deadpool 2, which is the next movie that's coming out. Can you feel the hype is in the air? Woo! Yes! And that can't just be me, right? I mean, that must be like the entire population. Or at least in my opinion. How I view it, right, from my perspective. Have a nice one, mates. I'll see you tomorrow with the... No, it's not the SNR. Tomorrow's Friday. I'll see you tomorrow with a new video. Have a nice one. See ya.